Welcome to United Taste of America. Maryland is an interesting place. Maryland was a colony originally chartered by King Charles, largely to protect those Catholics in England and give them a place where they could worship the way they wanted to worship. And so Maryland has long been a Catholic state. Maryland is the seventh state in the Union. We're here today in Baltimore to talk a little bit about the great foods of Maryland. Maryland foods really center around the Chesapeake Bay, the great oysters, fish, scallops, and other things that come out of the water, but mostly North Atlantic blue crabs. We're here today at the famous Faidley's Marketplace. It's a family business that's been operating in the same family since 1886. And today we're going to spend time with the matriarch, Mrs. Nancy Devine, who is the granddaughter of the founder, to talk about her famous jumbo lump crab cakes. This is the state dish of the state of Maryland. I'm here with the matriarch of the Faidley family, and I'm very excited, Nancy, to have you with me today.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for
Now,
coming.
it's unusual in America today to have a family business that has been around this long.
My grandfather came from Pennsylvania, and it was an outside market at that time frame. And he sold mainly fish and terrapin, oysters, things that came from the Chesapeake Bay. And when he did have a partner at the time, but he bought the partner out, so it started out with two names, Smith and Faidley, but he kept the name because that was the name everybody, even though John Faidley owned it. John then had 4 sons, my father being one of them, and the business went to the oldest son, Edward. Edward went off to war, and he sold a lot of seafood. He sold both to restaurants and clubs and things of that nature, but also had the stall in the market, always in Lexington Market. Then when he came back, he didn't want to go back into the market. So my dad had helped out, and as a child and all, and he was in sales. He said, I'll do it. And my father's name was John, after his dad. So John Faidley came in. Interesting enough, at that time frame, there had been a young John Faidley when they were first born, but John Faidley, the first, did not live as an infant. So they named my dad. Well, my dad loved to eat, loved food, and he was a wonderful storyteller. He was great fun, and he loved being in the market, and people loved him. So he had a very good business, but it was primarily fish. And my father loved to cook, and he'd tell people how to cook. And often he'd make himself a fish sandwich in a little fry pan on one of those little electric things. And people would come and say, John, that smells so good. How about making me one of those? And he got asked so much that he said, I think we got to start cooking food. So
The rest is history.
yes, so then we opened up the cooking part of the business, and primarily we sold fish, and people were eating a lot of fish at that time frame. I'd have to cook fish ahead of time, put in the oven because the line was so long.
Now, let me ask you this, because Maryland was founded with a charter that King Charles did largely to protect the few remaining Catholics that were in the UK that came here. So you had a long-standing Catholic population
Yes.
that I think probably led to
That's
eating
right.
the fish, right?
That's right. And on Good Friday, they were out the door and up the street. Yes. Yes, we did. And that was a major part of the business. But then we started, enlarging it. So we had a crab cake and we had oysters and we had some, typical and fish. And we sold several kinds of fish. But the Boston hake, the steak fish, was the one that my father started, was one of the most popular at the time frame. So it was not until the 80s, of course, that I played around with this crab meat, because that had never been our feature. And I think up there, he's probably, I'll be, look what she's done. And I made that crab cake. As I mentioned earlier, I only made 6 because I worried the fact that we had to stand up tables, and I didn't have a tablecloth on there. How was I going to get the price? Well, once people started eating, they didn't care about that. And it just got so much notoriety, and people started lining up. And I was, thank goodness, at many, many awards, featured in many magazines, and food people came from all over to taste this crab cake.
Well, it's
So-
interesting. Somebody once said that a great product, people will suspend rational behavior in order to have it.
Absolutely.
And what's so neat about Faidley's today is I'm watching local people that are on their lunch hour coming in to eat, but I'm also seeing people from all over the world that you've become a destination, a dining destination.
Absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful experience.
Well, I've said I live on a tidal river and we catch crabs off our dock. And anytime somebody says to me, how come crab meat's so expensive? I say, come with me and pick one.
Yeah. That's the best way to teach it.
And quickly you'll say, I get it now. I understand. And, the crabs don't walk up to your market. It's a full industry. The watermen in the Chesapeake Bay are catching the crabs. They're taking those crabs to a packing house. Those packing houses are picking the crab meat. They're putting them in containers, and then they're bringing them to you. And they're not only just picking crab meat, they're picking it in a way to keep the lump crab meat in a whole thing, which is an art form in itself.
Taking each lump of crab out of its section in the crab. And of course, it's behind the swimmer fin that does all the work and builds up that big muscle that you're going to take out there. And that's why you only have the 2, and they're right on that swimmer fin. And they're very delicate, putting that and putting it aside. And there are only 2. And I believe my daughter mentioned that it takes about 40 crabs to make 1 pound of that crab.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Yes.
Well, let's go see the star of the show. Let's go see the giant.
Oh, wow. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready for that.
So, okay.
Well, I didn't know exactly how to honor you today, but I wore my crab belt.
I see that.
And thank you so much for having us today.
Listen, thank you for coming. We'd love to having you, and I appreciate your putting that crab cake on a special feature that you're doing.
Yeah, this is the
Because-
food, the iconic food of the state of Maryland.
Well, it's
right
pretty
here.
special to us.
Well, it's very
thank you.
special to us too. So thanks for having me.
Thank you.